I've mentioned previously about the things that I look for going into Pointe and the many requirements for toe stands and all that fun stuff. But today we're going to kind of backtrack and talk about Demi Pointe or pre-Pointe, depending who your instructor is. I am a strong advocate for my dancers training in pre-Pointe shoes. They are pointe shoes, but without the shank. So that means you cannot go up on your toes. And my rule of thumb is if I actually catch any dancers doing so, they immediately lose their pointe shoes or their demi pointe shoes, and they are no longer permitted to train that way. There are companies that sell demi pointe shoes. The old school way of doing this before those became a thing was we used to actually take pointe shoes and rip the shanks out. It gives you the feel of what it's like to dance with a box. When you first put those shoes on, they kind of feel like clown shoes, and you're like, what? And you do this awkward waddle, and it's a little funny. Not everybody goes through that, but I've seen it happen often because it's just a different feel on your foot. You're so used to having soft canvas shoes or whatever, and so the demi points are a little interesting. I ask for demi pointe, especially for my tap dancers that want to be doing toe stands. They have to be training. They have to be cross-training with ballet, and they have to be taking demi pointe, and then they have to in turn take pointe. The muscle group is all the same. How your foot works within the shoe is all the same. You have to lengthen. You cannot be clenching your toes. Demi pointe is basically resistance training for your foot. By taking out the shank, you're working already with extra material in that shoe. And that causes a little extra work for your foot. And this goes back to the whole, if dancers have leather shoes or canvas shoes, leather shoes also create more resistance. Reason I actually encourage those for like my pre-dancers, because they're still learning how to use their feet and it helps strengthens them. And then I actually convert my dancers to canvas so that way they can have a better feel of their feet. And then we go to demi pointe, so that way the demi pointe works as, again, another form of resistance training. So that way you're building the strength in your arch. You're building the flexibility and everything in your instep, and you're able to lengthen your toes and feel how that all sits. You can get a good understanding before pointe work would even happen about areas where like your toes may be hitting the box, and if you need lamb's wool in there. Some dancers prefer gel pads. I'm a strong advocate for lamb's wool, so that way you can adjust your needs much easier than the gel pads. The gel pads are great, but they're not exactly a one size fits all based on whatever foot shape you may have. So I like having a bit more ability to adjust my needs. I also like having my dancers feel the floor a bit more. Now that doesn't mean that you should be like crying because you have a box wrapped around your foot. It should be not completely stuffed in there so you can't feel what's happening. And demi pointe is where we can work out some of those logistics so you're a bit better prepared for pointe work. When dancers are training in demi pointe, you're working extensively on releve and how to rise and lower, again with that resistance. When you're doing this, you're practicing that proper alignment and everything, and it's basically like having TheraBands attached to your feet. And so you're lengthening, you're stretching, you're building that muscle, you're building that endurance to withstand what's going to happen when you do get to the toe stands and pointe work. I will see you tomorrow.